Good morning, everyone. I hope I find you well. 2020 was going to be a celebration year for Wendy and I. We'd been planning this year for the last 18 months. We were both going to celebrate our 60th birthdays. We had a special day with some friends booked. We'd been saving for the last 2 years to go to Paris for our 40th anniversary. The Airbnb had been booked for the last 12 months. We had booked our favourite restaurant in Paris. There were other friends that were going to have celebrations with us who were also turned 60. But unfortunately, all the celebrations were cancelled for another time. However, we started 2020 with events which were going to be really painful to our family. A year started with Wendy's dad having a severe stroke in February. We were up and down to Norfolk for at least a week, staying sort of 24 hours, staying at the hospital overnight. And sadly, Charlie passed away at the end of that particular week. Though we made plans with Wendy's mum to be at least with her sort of once a week, the lockdown took care of that and it prevented us from going down. My father had a stroke earlier on in the year and he was placed in a care home. He can't speak, he can't move his legs, and he needs constant help all the time. And this is probably about his 5th stroke in as many years. He's now in a care home and he probably will never be coming home to our house, which is difficult for my mum. With all these things going on, we found out that 4 people had died at the care home where my dad is staying at the moment. Now, when you get times like this, we could have just let this situation take over our minds. For me, when these situations happen, I can't take care of them myself, and I have to ask God. And I speak to God and just say, God, I can't take care of this, and I have to lay them at the foot of the cross. For me, I find that there's a comfort in that. So, why am I telling you all this information? In the movie Evan Almighty, there is a scene where Noah's wife packs up her bag. She's so fed up with Noah, with building this ark, and she decides that she's going to take the family back to her mother's. So let me set the scene. So they're in a restaurant, they're on their way home, they have a stop in a diner, and God is dressed as he's the cleaner in the restaurant. And he sees her and he goes up to her and he says, and he asks, is everything all right? At first she says, everything is fine. And he says, are you sure? And she pauses and says, no, it's a long story. Then God says, well, I like stories. I consider myself a storyteller myself. So she goes on and says, have you heard of the New York Noah? Oh, the guy that's building the ark. Oh, I love that story. Then God says, so many people get the wrong idea of the story. They think it's about God's wrath and his anger. And she asks, well, what is the story about? God says, well, it's a love story. It's about believing in each other and standing side by side with each other and loving and caring for each other. And then she says, well, my husband says God told him to build the ark. What do you do with that? Then God says, well, that sounds like an opportunity. Then God says, let me ask you something. If someone prays for patience, does God give them patience? Or does he give them the opportunity to be patient? Or if someone prays for courage, does God give them courage or a chance to be courageous? Or if someone prays for the family to be closer, do you think God zaps them with a fuzzy feeling? Or does he give them the opportunity to love one another? In Matthew 5, verse 16, in the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see the good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. Right now, we're in an unusual time. And we have the opportunity to shine a light wherever we go. We have the opportunity to be a bright light to our friends. We have the opportunity to be a bright light to our neighbours. We have the opportunity to be a prayer warrior. and we have the opportunity to build God's kingdom just by being a bright light to so many people. Lots of people are struggling right now. Why don't you take the opportunity to shine a light to someone you know today? Thank you.